Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. Today we are drawing Rogue. But there's a twist to this because I've drawn Rogue like 3 times. I think this is the 3rd time on this show that I've drawn Rogue. I've drawn Rogue quite a few times. And I've been drawing largely the most popular version of Rogue, which is 90s Rogue. But there is another very popular Rogue that I have not drawn, and that would be X-MenEvolution Rogue. I flubbed that one a little bit. But yeah, that's the other, I would say, the second most popular Rogue. Especially, well, I suppose when it comes to cartoon rogues, there's the two popular ones being the 90s show and then this one. This is the other one that I haven't done yet. So, largely, this shouldn't be too difficult, all in all. I'll have to do some stuff when it comes to like layering in like see-through stuff, because the shirt is kind of like a meshy material, so it's sort of see-through. So I'll have to do something there. That'll be something to talk about, I suppose. That'll all be coloring stuff, though, so it's not something to really worry about in the early phases. But yeah, largely I don't necessarily have a topic today to talk about in particular. But I think this should be mostly just a fun little one, which is a little easier. Because the last episode was actually quite difficult. The Bizarro one was not easy. That was quite hard. It was mostly because it took a hell of a long time. It took 5 hours. But I would wager this is not going to take as long, if I were to take a guess. But anyways, I will roll the intro and then you can see what I've got already. So yeah. Okay, so this is where we're at. This is what I've got. I've just gone for a basic enough mid shot. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, I just had a really bad. It's like my brain just stopped working for a second there. That's unusual. I just stalled. It was like a glitch. I don't know. My brain just glitched. Anyways, yeah. So, largely speaking, this. Again, it's a pretty basic mid shot. I haven't gone for anything too crazy here. Largely, it's just to kind of get all the core features on show. And yeah, like the large thing, which is going to maybe be, I don't want to say difficult, but it's going to have something worth talking about, I suppose, is the shirt, because obviously this is a kind of a mesh material, meaning it'll be see-through, meaning I'll have to color it and then lower the opacity of it. That's really all you have to do. But I'll also have to paint and shade onto the shirt separately, because that way it will sell the fact that it is still a layer. You don't want it to seem too thin or too throwaway. So it'll still be, I'll turn down the opacity slightly, but not too much, because you don't want it to just like kind of disappear. If it disappears, then well, no point in doing that at all. It depends. But here, this isn't going to be like super sheer, I suppose would be the term. It's not going to be super see-through. It'll just be kind of see-through enough that you get the idea of it being thin. But it's one of those things. I mean, you can even do it like it's a thing which I suppose you could do on like I suppose like a white shirt. You could do that same thing, because that's a thing that happens on a lot of white clothing, is that you can sort of see through it. It depends on the material, obviously, but it's a thing that sort of happens. So it's one of those things you can sort of apply this to that as well. It's not the most kind of crazily applicable thing that you can do, is the kind of sheer thing. But mostly, what I've tried to do with this is to try and, because obviously X-MenEvolution has a very particular art style, so it's a thing of where I've tried to adapt some of that here and there. So obviously in that show, Rogue has some sort of different facial features than you would normally get. She tends to have a fairly, a bit of a wider head and narrower eyes. And I think I'm going to have to maybe reshape her head a little bit here in the details, because it feels like there's not enough. It feels like there's maybe too much face here, is how I'm feeling about this. It feels like there's too much face over here. And this expression is also maybe just kind of a little unclear. I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't know what that mouth expression is. So yeah, that's the kind of area where I'm trying to think of there, of where I'm like, I need to do something about the face. The face isn't quite sitting right with me. But yeah, stuff like the flat brow and the kind of the hair sticking in the middle of the face. Obviously, Rogue always has a different hairstyle no matter where you go, which is funny. Because you would think that because Rogue's hair is one of her more distinctive features that it would remain somewhat consistent, but that's actually the complete opposite of the truth. It's probably the least consistent thing about her design. Well, I think the only consistent thing about her design is the color theory of it. There's usually green involved, and her hair usually has the white streak in it. That's about it. That's the only thing that's consistent. There's typically green, not even necessarily yellow. The yellow isn't necessarily a consistent element. Because here, largely what we're dealing with is green and black. Those are the two primary colors here. But yeah. Anyways, I don't think I need to dawdle too long here before we start. Because, I mean, there isn't actually an enormous amount that I need to say here. Like the background, I think I'm just going to do a green background. That's like a darker green than the green that we're going to be getting on the shirt, stuff like that. It's like nothing too crazy. I might do the double texture thing, but I'll explain that again once we get to it. I'm doing that on a lot of the kind of solid color background ones. I might do something else with the background. I might add like a bit of a streak or something in it, something to make it look a little bit more interesting. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. I'm thinking about a solid color though. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. But yeah. Anyways, I will get started. I'll have to open up some reference here as well, so I'll just do that while we're in the sped up dimension. So yeah, I will get started. Okay, so that is our details done, which includes the shirt, which I decided to do as a whole separate thing, because I felt like it'd be easier to just do this and then remove that so that I can see what I'm doing underneath, because I'm going to have to put all this stuff over anyways, and I'm probably going to have to put the color over as well, because I'll want to have it be, what am I trying to say? I'm going to want to have it affect all the lines underneath this as well, so that they're kind of like hazied, something like that they're a little bit blurred by all this. So again, it looks a little ugly now, but I think it will come together nicely once we're all done. I think I have an idea of what I'm going to do with the background. I think I'm just going to do green and then just put a big white streak through it, something like that. Something a little bit more interesting than just flat color background. We'll see what I do. I'll do it during this section anyways. One of the things, which again I tinkered, I changed basically her entire face as we were going, because let me just demonstrate here. This is what her face was like before, and this is what it is now. So I changed the facial expressions as a bit more of like a kind of expression, something like that. His eye should be a little bit squintier, if that's what we're going for. If it's like that. See how that my eye there squints whenever that happens. Generally speaking, if this is the facial expression, there should be a little squint of some variety there, but doesn't really matter all that much. This episode isn't about expressions, so I don't need to do it perfectly. That was the last episode's problem. But this time, we don't necessarily have a pattern topic, so I'm just going to maybe talk... Jesus. My brain is fighting me a lot today. Yeah, we don't necessarily have a topic today, so it's sort of just kind of a bit of everything. Yeah, so realistically speaking, this shouldn't be too difficult. Like, the colors should probably be pretty quick, because there's only like 3 of them. I am going to have to do something with the legs. That's probably, I think there's tights. Yeah, there's tights. I'll just do those as a separate color, that will just be easier. But largely it's just skin color, and then the black, because it's the same, the shirt and the skirt are the same color. So I'll just do those at the exact same color. The undershirt and the skirt are the same color, so I'll just do that as the same thing. I'll just do them both as the same black. Same with the gloves. They're all going to be the same black. So that should be pretty doable. Yes, I don't think there's actually, yes, I'll have to do makeup. I'll probably do that. Should I do that during this section, or should I wait until... I think I'll do it during this section, because it has to be... Is it eyeliner or is it eyeshadow? It's kind of both. So if that's the case, I'm going to need to... Well, it's all the same color. It's all the lips and the eyeliner, and yeah, it's all the exact same color. So right, I'll have to do that during this section. I'll have to make sure I put that underneath the hair, but above the skin, which is normally a bit of a pain to remember sometimes, to put things in the right order, because most of the time it doesn't really matter which order you put things in, so long as you know where you've put everything. It's not too bad, but in this instance, it's probably best to keep things in a very specific order so that I don't make a meal of it. But I'll probably turn off the shirt while I'm doing these colors, just so that it'll make my life a little easier, just so that I can see what I'm doing for the most part. Actually, I'll leave it on for now, it doesn't matter. I'll leave it on for now until I'm actually doing any of the stuff that should be under it. But yeah, obviously you can notice that the pattern I put on here, I did this kind of like fingerprinty pattern. I suppose would be the best thing, this kind of rounded lines, which just go like that. Because I tinkered with a few different patterns, and I didn't really like any of the other ones. This one felt like it fit the best. I might turn it down a little bit more once we have the actual color in there. We'll see how that looks, because I don't want to overpower anything. I don't want it to be too visible, because obviously right now it's very, very visible. So we'll see what I do with that. But yeah, anyways, I will start these colors, and then I will be back to do the painted shading, which might be a big pain during this section, but we'll see. Well, it might be a big pain on this just because of all the different layers and everything I have to try and remember. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyways. Okay, so that is our colors done. And yeah, so we'll see how some of this stuff works later, because stuff like the kind of shirt color being over the line work we'll see how I feel about that later, because it's something where I'm like, I don't mind it. It obviously causes the undershirt to kind of blend together a little bit, as you can see here. It's not gonna. A lot of the lines here aren't super distinct, especially not from the actual shirt. The overshirts lines, they kind of blend together a little bit, which is a bit of a problem. It causes it to be a little less, again, as I say, it causes it to maybe blend together a little too much, so we'll see how I feel about that. I obviously did the makeup and everything, that's all done. I was actually struggling quite a bit to tell where a lot of the hairlines began and ended because of the way that I'd done it. Something which I didn't notice before is just how red Rogue's hair is in X-MenEvolution. Like, it's practically red. It's very red. So that was something which I had to adjust as I was going, was to kind of make it a little redder, because otherwise it would have kind of otherwise I probably would have made it quite dark. I mean, you can even see with the lines, I did heavier lines to anticipate a darker color, but well, it wasn't actually excuse me, it wasn't actually supposed to be that dark, so I just made it a little darker than it should be. It's also important to do that for two-tone hair, especially because it helps you later differentiate which part is supposed to be which, but because I had to kind of edit that a little bit, made it a little harder to do. But yeah, so one of the things which I forgot to mention in the line work was that Rogue in X-MenEvolution has a very distinct cleft chin. It's not like, again, it's not super eye-catching a lot of the time, even in a lot of the reference images I have open here. It's not like super eye-catching, but it is definitely there. It's there enough to make a note of including it. But yeah. Yeah, I just did the green background, white streak. I just felt like that would be easy, simple. And it works well enough for me. I might put another pattern or something on the background, might put like some dots or something in the background, we'll see. I might, that'll be end anyways, that'll be right at the end if I do decide to do that. That'll be in our detailed shading, but that's not what we're doing right now. Right now we're doing our painted shading. And yeah, likely by the end of this section it will be dark. So I'll have to slap on some lights. I mean, I've already got this light, so I won't be moving in a low frame rate at the very least, so that's something. But yeah, that'll probably be something I'll have to do in the near future. But yeah, I think largely I'm mostly happy with how this is going. Yeah, I feel like maybe the head is even still a little big, but I mean, we're at a point now where I can't really change it. So I'm gonna have to commit to it, and maybe in shading I'll be able to not necessarily make it smaller, but lessen its... yeah, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be made smaller. I don't know if her head needs to be made smaller. It's probably fine, because yeah, as I say, the shading will probably do a little bit to kind of mask the general kind of shape of it. It will help me kind of refine the shape of it. That's generally how I use the shading. But yeah, we'll see. Because I'm going to do this painted shading right now. So yeah, I'll be back once I've done that to do the detailed shading. That'll basically be us. So this has been a pretty easy one so far. Well, not even necessarily easy, but quick. It's been a quick one. So yeah, anyways, back after this. So yeah. Okay, that's our painted shading done. Again, not too arduous, but I had to try and replicate certain things. So, for example, I think I managed to get the little lip sheen actually quite right this time. It's something which I tend to try and do right, but it's kind of difficult to try and replicate a lot of the time. That kind of like spotty little bit of lip sheen you get. I mean, even now I obviously don't have lipstick on, but I get that as well because I just have shiny lips. But yeah, it's the type of thing that a lot of people have even without makeup, so it's the type of thing that it's kind of worth maybe getting good at in my case. And I think I've maybe got it this time. And again, with the shirt, even though it's a sheer kind of see-through material, there obviously should still be shading on it specifically, which I tried to do. And I mean, here, there's it on, there's it on, there's it off. And I think it looks a little better with it on because it adds more shape to the actual shirt itself, even though it isn't specifically anything, or it isn't like obscuring the lighting of anything underneath it. So it's kind of in that sense, it's not super necessary to shade it specifically because I've shaded everything underneath it. So I think it still adds a nice little bit of shape to it as well. And again, there's little bits of sheen on the hair, on the gloves and the skirt because they're all the same material. And yeah, that little bit of sheen there, I think it adds something nice. Same with the very subtle bit there. I think it kind of, yeah, it accentuates the shape of things. It adds a little bit more depth because obviously this leg is closer than this one, and that comes across a little bit more now, even though obviously the skirt is a flat shape. It's not the most visible thing in the world. I think it does a little bit more for it in that sense to kind of accentuate that. But yes, so now what do I have to do? Now I have to do detailed shading, which I have already got my colors for. And then I'll do the light line in this very same section. And that'll be us. We're really nearly done actually, which is surprising. This one hasn't been very difficult. Ordinarily these do take quite a while, so yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, realistically it's about the same time it was yesterday whenever I did the previous episode. But yeah, anyways, I'll do this and then I'll come back to do the gradient maps and all those final touches that'll be us. So yeah, anyways. Okay, so that is us done. I was thinking about doing a pattern on the background there, but I had to think about it, and I tinkered around with some stuff, and I was like, I don't think any of this looks very good, so I just decided to stick with this. It's vanilla, but it'll work. I'll do the double texture thing, and that should maybe spice it up a little bit. Yeah, as I say, it's pretty kind of generic, but it'll work. It serves our purposes well enough. Sometimes something simple is enough. And in this instance, I think that's the case. But I am going to do the double texture thing, and we're going to see if that does anything. I might not keep it. I might just leave it as regular single texture. But we'll see. Anyways, I need to do the gradient map. So let me start doing this. So first things first. Thinking we're going to want something high contrast, but I'm not sure what to do with it. So there's a lot of green in here, so we don't want to lose the green. So I'm thinking, God, I'm thinking this might actually require a lot of work. Okay, so right, purple is a pretty obvious one. I didn't actually select it, or I did select it, I just didn't skew it properly. So purple is obvious for our dark, because the all the black here is like a slightly purple kind of shade, and obviously all the makeup is purpley, so purple is an obvious choice. I don't want this to be too Sun City, so what next? What next? Our lightest color, I think, should actually be like a yellowy orangier color. Not like too crazy though. I'd say maybe like there-ish. Then in the middle, that's not what I wanted to happen. In the middle, we'll select a, in the middle it should probably actually be like that. That should probably be the color in the middle if we're going like directly in between the two. That's what would be there, would be this. Maybe make it a little darker. So alright, let's do some more skewing here. This one should probably be blue, then make it pretty dark. And put it about there. Now if you want to bring this up properly, we're going to want to make this one green. And about a mid-green like here. That'll work. That'll work for our purposes. Maybe make this a little bit warmer. And maybe make this a little bit yellower. Of a green. Now that, I think, should be not too horrid, in theory. Maybe make the middle tone a little lighter. And same with this, maybe make this a little lighter. It doesn't actually need to be that dark. So we'll see. This might require more editing, so I'll leave that open for now. So let's set it to an overlay. Well, it certainly makes her paler. Right. Let's set that to soft light. Yeah. We might need to consider doing some alterations to that. Let me turn down the opacity on it. At 60. It is kind of killing a lot of our tones here, right? I'm thinking I'm going to need to alter this. Right, okay, so I think it's the blue is the problem. I think it's actually the blue. Is that an awful idea? I don't actually think it is. I think that's not a bad idea actually at all. Put more purple in it. Now, this is a bluier color. I think maybe make it purple. Straight up, just make it purple. Just make those shades purpler. Even this, actually, I don't mind how that looks. And then the green and the yellow at the top. That's fine. That works. Even though it's a little awkward. I mean, even in here, you can see the kind of it gets light and then kind of gets weird. I think that's fine. I think we can work with this. I think we can work with this quite a bit. So right, that is our soft light. And I mean, yeah, I mean, whenever it's... Let me just set it to normal. Turn that off for a second. Set it to 100%. It's weird. It's definitely weird. So we'll set it to luminosity. Turn it down a bit. Turn it down to 20%. Don't want it to be too dark. Might bring this up a tiny bit. Make that like 65%. Maybe a little lighter. Because it is definitely sucking the life out of our background here. Our background is becoming a lot darker. No, I was thinking there for a minute about maybe collecting the character stuff into a single folder. Yeah, into a folder so that the background isn't affected, but I don't think that's necessary. I think it's probably fine as is. Alright, let's set this one to be a color burn. So we'll resurrect our green a little bit. That's 5%. Now how do we feel about that? See, a lot of those greens, which is obviously the central part of this, are kind of being killed a little bit. Let me turn those off for a second and edit this specifically. I've done a lot of tinkering there, but we'll see once I slap on my texture here, because that will obviously lighten things up a little bit. See if that does anything appreciably different than what we're looking at so far. We'll see if that does anything kind of noticeable to kind of brighten things up, because that is typically what I use the texture for, is to brighten things up. So, right. Let's have a look. Let's see what I need to do in order to work with this. It does make those greens a little bit more present. Only in the background though, really. Right, so we'll place that, and then I don't know if the double texture thing's going to work really at all here, but we'll see. It might be too much. Yeah, it's visible. Right, let's see if this double texture situation works at all. Let's get our copy, bring it down. Takes a minute. Right, now we're going to set that and do this. We're going to do Control D, we're going to flip it horizontally, we're going to place it. We're going to make it slightly more intense, make it like 35%. Do we like that? I don't really. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's doing anything for us. I don't think we need it. Which means that's us. Now, yeah, I'm still thinking about this, but I think it's probably fine. I think I can live with this. The green of the shirt shouldn't be too crazy anyways, because it isn't in any of the reference images I have sat in front of me. It's not as green as it was sans gradient map. It's never that green in any of the reference images. Now, granted, this is also much brighter than any of the reference images. Yeah, like it does kind of fundamentally change the lighting whenever you apply these gradient masks, because normally it's quite light, and then you put on the gradient maps and it becomes very dark. So it makes a bit of a difference in that sense. So I think I'm good with this. I think I can live with that. It's not necessarily what I intended, but I can live with it. Which is, I suppose, the compromise you make whenever you're doing this type of stuff. But yeah, that's us. So that was an alright one. That was a fun enough one. In the interest of moving things along, I will say my outro and then I'll leave you. So, if you liked the video, do whatever it is that you'd normally do, whether that be liking it or not. I would of course prefer if you liked it, but I can't make you do that, so, you know, you do you. Same deal, if you want to subscribe, go for it. If you would, for whatever reason, prefer not to subscribe, that is also fine. You know where the subscribe button is. You've presumably watched a YouTube video before, so I don't need to tell you where it is. If you've got any suggestions for what you would like to see me draw in a future video, the comment section is there. Use it, but be kind. Be nice about it. Use it if you so wish. No pressure. And with all that said, that is us. So I feel like there was a part of the outro which I didn't say there, but I don't remember anymore. It's getting to that time of night now where my brain is failing me. Now it's been kind of like that all day, to be perfectly honest, but that's it. That's where we're at. Anyways, with all that said, I think that is us done. So I'll say goodbye and I will leave you. So bye bye.